And now, Smallville Season 3. And that was a good follow-up to Season 2, because it carried over pretty much every pro that was in the last two seasons and continued them. And my enjoyment of the show is still almost at the level to where it is. It did go down a little bit because you know how I mentioned that the last couple episodes of Season 2, I began to have a tougher time keeping track of everything. Well, it kind of felt like that for this whole season because there were several episodes where I got like a third of the way in and then realized I completely lost the feel of it, so then I went back to the beginning of the episode and like... Originally, I got 7 episodes into the season, and then I stopped, took a break from it, and then started all over again because I was having a tough time with it. Now, once I actually understood a lot more of what was going on, you know, my enjoyment, as I said, went almost back to where it was before, but I still feel like that's important to mention. But that's really the only new dislike I have for this season, because, you know, everything else is pretty much the same. You know, we've got excellent story arcs involving Clark, both in terms of his superhero duties and then his personal life, you know, with each character. And then we have tons of people having story arcs that don't relate to Clark at all, because at the beginning of the season we have Lana and Chloe still discussing their issues with each other because they both have feelings for Clark, albeit... Once we get a third of the way into the season, both of them seem to have put that aside because Chloe finally, you know, recognizes that she doesn't have a chance with Clark, and Clark and Lana realize that, you know, it's just not working, even though I kind of forget the exact moment when they said that they were going to be an item. Granted, they did get this close, but I kind of forget that exact moment, yeah. And then you've got Lex dealing with his father trying to double-cross, well, just about everybody, you know, and then the revelation that Lionel actually did kill his parents. That was something that I didn't really see coming. And then we got a little additional bit with Pete, where he admitted that he was in love with Chloe when she had, you know, that truth-inducing... I don't want to say drug, I'm just going to say pheromone, because it was like, you know, an air component thing. And that's something that I didn't see coming, although, given how there was a deleted scene in one of the season 1 episodes, I forget one where it is now, where Pete and Chloe were going to some kind of dance as friends. It wasn't the prom that was at the end of the first season, it was a different dance, and Pete, you know, kind of made a move with his hand, you know, that should have been a giveaway to me, you know, so... I mean, like, it was kind of shocking when he did it, but at the same time not, ooh, my god, shocking. You know, it's the same situation that Chloe is. You were around with someone for a while, and then... Yeah. And, obviously there's tons of other examples that fit this, but I'm sure you get it. And then, what they did with other characters in here, because like bringing Christopher Reeve's character back and having him get mixed up with the Key, Octagon, Thingy-Majig, and Lionel Luthor, that added a bit more of complexity to one episode, which was nice, albeit, like I said, it was a little tricky for me to keep track of everything. Although, I should point out, it's not as bad as Game of Thrones, even though I do want to eventually go back and watch that whole show. Alright? And then, also, having Jor-el be more of a problem. That's nice for a couple of reasons, because one, it adds more of a desperate feel to the season. Two, it helps with the pro that this series has of giving us negative emotions, but doing it in a good way. That's really the best way I could describe it. But also, it takes a little bit of guts, you know, to have like an iconic character be, you know, less likable, you know, and it has nothing to do with Terrence Stamp voicing the character. That's pure coincidence, okay, that he played General Zod in the first 2 Superman movies, you know, that's just coincidence. It's the behavior that's important, not who voices him, because, like, tiny spoiler alert for Batman vs Superman. Both Batman and Superman in that movie, based on the one time that I've watched it, don't appear to be as likable as you would predict that they would be. And in this modern age, even though this was made about 15 years ago, I think it's a good thing that movies and TV shows are making the people a little less likable, because ironically it makes them more human, you know. Now I know what you're thinking, well, we're not supposed to think of them as human. Yeah, but they have human faults, you know. That's one reason that Stan Lee's interpretation of superheroes took off, because he gave tons of the heroes, especially Spider-Man, real life problems. This show has tons of real-life problems, albeit, you know, Lex's problems seem a little bit more out there, but at the same time, you know, corrupt parents that keep trying to program you and then just use their child for their benefit or the company's benefit. We have seen that in fiction and a little bit in real life. Keep in mind a little, because it's tough to stretch those parallels, but... So, doing those jor-el bits, it's depressing, but at the same time it does work, yeah. Although, the inclusion of Kara at the end, however you say Supergirl's Kryptonian name, that seemed kind of odd, especially since everybody was able to dig, Chloe and Jonathan Kent were able to dig up a file on her now, albeit it could be that Jor-el has an actual explanation for that, but I don't know. Just randomly having her there, that seems like a little bit of overkill, and especially if she continues to be there in a sort of recurring fashion. Now, if it's a recurring fashion in the way that Christopher Reeve's character was, you know, only appearing once or twice in a season, that wouldn't actually be a bad thing, you know, having her be like Jor-el's messenger, but if they keep that character around, that's going to be a real stretch for this show, especially since that they're having tons of characters in here already. Yeah. Anything else that I want to mention? Oh yeah, that character of Morgan Edge. While he did add a decent amount of complexity to the show, you know, in desperation, which was all good, he kind of helped just meddle with the flow of this season, you know, because, like, at first, he seems like kind of unnecessary, you know, giving problems for Clark, but then you learn that he and Lionel actually have a decent backstory, but it seems like you learn most of that after they kill him off, and unfortunately, I kind of got lost in Lex's, you know, breakdown and trying to figure out what's real and what's not, that it didn't fully process into my mind that, you know, he was dead. Oh, I wholeheartedly do remember that Lex shot him, you know, but it didn't really process in my mind that he was dead. So, again, you know, it goes to show that I had to pay a little bit more attention to here. Yeah. So, he did have a lot more justification than, like, you know, Lana's biological father. But, you know, the fact that I didn't really like the character and felt that he kind of complicated things, yeah. Oh, and the fact that they mentioned Lois in here but don't actually show her, well, I'm pretty sure that I saw a clip of this show where she does actually appear, so I bet they're going to bring her in here, because, like, why do you bring up Superman's main love interest if you're not going to actually show her, even though I know for a fact that Lana is almost as big a love interest as her. It's just that, you know, we've only seen one thing of Lana in live action movies, whereas Lois has been in all of them. So, yeah. So I know that this was kind of long-winded, but I wanted to discuss a decent amount of things with this show. I'm still enjoying it. Trust me, though.